"Can I be your mom?" The question hung in the air like suspended glitter, freezing every adult at the birthday party. 6-year-old Lily's eyes widened with wonder as she looked up at her father's boss, a woman she'd only met twice before. No one could have predicted that 4 simple words would change 3 lives forever. If you've ever believed in second chances or the magic that happens when fate steps in, this story will touch your heart. Like, subscribe, and join me on this journey of unexpected love and healing. Mark Wilson wiped his brow as he arranged the pink princess plates on the folding table in his backyard. 6 years of single parenthood had taught him many skills: braiding hair, removing stains from favorite stuffed animals, and throwing birthday parties that made his daughter feel special despite their modest means. Today was Lily's 6th birthday, and he'd been planning it for months, saving every extra penny from his job at Reynolds Architecture to make it perfect. "Daddy, is it time yet?" Lily bounced around the yard in her sparkly purple dress, her dark curls bobbing with each excited jump. She'd been counting down to this day since dawn, asking the same question approximately every 7 minutes. "Almost, sweetheart. The guests will be here in about 30 minutes. Mark smiled, though exhaustion pulled at the corners of his eyes. He'd been up since 5 a.m., baking the unicorn cake Lily had requested and transforming their small backyard into a fairy tale wonderland with streamers, balloons, and twinkling lights. Single parenthood wasn't what Mark had envisioned for himself. When his wife Elise died during childbirth, he'd been thrust into a world of diapers, sleepless nights, and overwhelming grief. The only thing that had kept him going was the tiny bundle with Elise's eyes who needed him more than he needed his sorrow. "Will Ms. Reynolds really come to my party?" Lily asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. "You said she's super important." Mark nodded, still surprised himself that his boss had accepted the invitation. "She said she would, and Ms. Reynolds always keeps her promises." Catherine Reynolds was not just his boss but the owner and principal architect of the firm where Mark had worked for the past 4 years. Known for her brilliant designs and exacting standards, she rarely socialized with employees. When Mark had mentioned Lily's birthday during a project meeting, he'd extended an invitation out of politeness, never expecting her to accept. "She's important, but you're the most important person today, birthday girl," Mark said, tapping Lily's nose affectionately. The first guests began arriving, classmates with brightly wrapped presents and their parents, whom Mark knew from school events. He greeted everyone warmly while keeping one eye on the entrance, wondering if Catherine would actually show up. An hour into the party, with children running through sprinklers and parents chatting over punch, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. Catherine Reynolds stepped out, looking decidedly out of place in her tailored pants and silk blouse. In her hands was a large gift wrapped in shimmering paper. Mark hurried over. "Ms. Reynolds, thank you for coming. You really didn't have to." "Catherine, please. We're not at the office." She smiled, but there was something tight about it, something almost nervous. "I hope I'm not too late." "Not at all. We're just about to cut the cake." Mark led her to the backyard, acutely aware of how different his world must seem to her. Catherine lived in a penthouse downtown, traveled internationally for work, and had been featured in architectural magazines. His life was school drop-offs, macaroni art on the refrigerator, and stretching his paycheck to cover ballet lessons. Lily spotted them immediately and ran over, stopping just short of Catherine with sudden shyness. "Hello, Lily. Happy birthday." Catherine knelt down, bringing herself to the child's level. "I brought you something. I hope you like it." Lily accepted the gift with wide eyes. "Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. You can call me Catherine." As Lily tore into the wrapping paper, Mark watched his boss's face. There was something there he'd never seen before, a softness, a vulnerability that seemed out of character for the woman who commanded boardrooms and construction sites with equal authority. Inside the package was a professional-grade art set with paints, brushes, and a real wooden easel that folded for storage. It was thoughtful and perfect. Mark had mentioned once in passing that Lily loved to paint. This is the best present ever," Lily exclaimed, throwing her arms around Catherine's neck without warning. Catherine froze for a moment before returning the hug, her eyes closing briefly as if savoring the contact. When she pulled back, Mark was stunned to see moisture in her eyes. The party continued with cake, games, and the chaos that inevitably comes with a dozen 6-year-olds hopped up on sugar. To Mark's surprise, Catherine stayed, even helping to serve cake and joining in a spirited game of musical chairs that left her laughing harder than he'd ever seen at work. As the party wound down and guests began to leave, Mark found Catherine sitting on the porch steps with Lily, who was showing her a collection of rocks she'd gathered from the garden. "This one looks like a heart," Lily was saying, placing a smooth stone in Catherine's palm. "You can keep it if you want." "I would be honored," Catherine replied, her voice unusually gentle. She slipped the rock into her pocket as if it were a precious gem. Mark approached, carrying trash bags. "Lily, can you help pick up some of the paper plates in the yard?" As Lily skipped off to help, Catherine stood. "She's remarkable, Mark. You've done an amazing job with her." "Thank you. It hasn't been easy, but she makes it worth it." Catherine hesitated, then asked, "Her mother? I know she passed away, but you've never mentioned what happened." Mark rarely discussed Elise with anyone, but something about Catherine's genuine interest made him open up. Complications during childbirth. It was sudden and, there was nothing anyone could do. "I'm so sorry." Catherine's voice was thick with emotion. "That must have been incredibly difficult." "The hardest thing I've ever faced," Mark admitted. "But Lily needed me, so I had to keep going." They stood in silence for a moment, watching Lily gather plates with determined concentration. "I should probably go," Catherine finally said. "Thank you for including me today. It was more special than you know." As she turned to leave, Lily came running back. "Are you leaving, Catherine? But we haven't had ice cream yet." Catherine smiled down at her. "I think you've had enough sugar for one day, don't you?" "Never," Lily declared with the conviction only a child could muster. "Daddy says ice cream is a birthday tradition. You have to stay for traditions." Mark started to intervene, not wanting his boss to feel obligated, but Catherine was already nodding. "Well, if it's a tradition, then I suppose I must." They sat around the kitchen table eating ice cream, Lily chattering about school and her friends while Catherine listened with genuine interest. Mark observed them together, struck by how natural they seemed, Catherine asking thoughtful questions and Lily responding with increasing animation. "Do you have any kids?" Lily asked suddenly, with the directness children are known for. A shadow passed over Catherine's face. "No, I don't." "Why not? Don't you like kids?" "Lily," Mark warned gently. "That's a personal question." "It's all right," Catherine said. She took a breath before answering. "I do like children. Very much. But sometimes life doesn't work out the way we plan." "What do you mean?" Lily persisted. Catherine seemed to consider her words carefully. "When I was younger, I was very focused on my career. I wanted to build beautiful buildings and be successful. By the time I thought about having children, there were complications. And then I never met the right person to have a family with." "That's sad," Lily said with the simple empathy of childhood. "Everyone should have someone." "I agree," Catherine said softly. "But I have my work, and I have friends, and now I know you." Lily beamed at this, then tilted her head thoughtfully. "My daddy doesn't have anyone either. Except me." Mark felt his cheeks warm. "Lily, that's enough ice cream questions for today. Why don't you go put your new art supplies somewhere safe?" After Lily left the room, Mark turned to Catherine. "I'm sorry about that. Kids and their questions. Please, don't apologize. She's delightful." Catherine's professional demeanor had completely melted away. You know, Mark, I've always appreciated your work at the firm, but seeing you as a father, it's impressive. You've created something far more beautiful than any building. The compliment caught him off guard. Thank you. That means a lot, especially coming from you. Their eyes met, and for a moment, Mark saw Catherine not as his intimidating boss but as a woman with depths he'd never glimpsed before. The moment stretched between them, comfortable and charged at the same time. Lily's return broke the spell. Daddy, can Catherine come to dinner sometime? She's never tried your famous spaghetti. Before Mark could formulate a response that wouldn't sound like he was presuming too much, Catherine smiled. I'd like that very much, if your dad is willing to share his famous recipe. Of course, Mark said, surprised at how much he meant it. You're welcome anytime. That dinner happened the following Friday, and then again the next week. Soon, Catherine was a regular visitor at their small home, bringing books for Lily and architectural journals for Mark. She helped Lily with art projects and discussed design ideas with Mark long after Lily had gone to bed. 3 months after the birthday party, they were sitting in the backyard watching Lily play with the neighbor's dog when Catherine confessed something to Mark. I've never told anyone this, she said quietly, but 10 years ago, I was pregnant. Mark turned to her, surprised. You were? She nodded, her eyes fixed on Lily. I was engaged to another architect. We were both ambitious, both climbing the ladder. When I found out I was pregnant, he wasn't pleased. Said it would derail my career, that we weren't ready. I let him convince me he was right. Mark reached for her hand, understanding dawning. You had an abortion? No, Catherine said, her voice barely audible. I wanted the baby. We fought about it for weeks. Then one day, I started bleeding. The stress, the doctor said. I lost the baby. A week later, my fiancé left. Said the whole experience had shown him he wasn't cut out for family life. Catherine, I'm so sorry. The irony is, he was right about one thing, I threw myself into my work afterward. Built the firm, made a name for myself. But there's been this emptiness. She squeezed his hand. Until recently. Their relationship deepened over the following months. Catherine brought a lightness to their home that had been missing, and Mark found himself falling for her, not the polished professional he'd known at work, but the woman who read bedtime stories with different voices for each character and who wasn't afraid to get paint on her expensive clothes when creating masterpieces with Lily. For Lily's part, she blossomed under Catherine's attention. The woman who had once seemed so intimidating to Mark was endlessly patient with his daughter, helping with homework, teaching her about architecture through building blocks, and listening to her dreams with genuine interest. 6 months after the birthday party, they were celebrating Lily's half-birthday, another Wilson tradition, with cupcakes in the park when Lily asked the question that had been forming in her mind. Catherine, she said, licking frosting from her fingers, do you love my daddy? Mark nearly choked on his cupcake. Lily. But Catherine met the child's gaze steadily. Yes, Lily, I do. Very much. And do you love me too? More than I ever thought possible, Catherine answered without hesitation. Lily nodded, satisfied with these answers. Then, with the logic of a 6-and-a-half-year-old, she asked, can I be your daughter, then? And can you be my mom? The question hung in the air like suspended glitter, freezing both adults. Mark held his breath, looking at Catherine, whose eyes had filled with tears. Lily, Mark began gently, that's not something. Yes, Catherine interrupted, her voice thick with emotion. If that's what you want, and if your dad agrees, nothing would make me happier than to be your mom. Lily squealed with delight and threw herself into Catherine's arms. Over the child's head, Catherine's eyes met Mark's, questioning and hopeful. Mark moved closer, wrapping his arms around both of them. I think, he said softly, that we're already a family. We just needed Lily to point it out. 3 months later, on a crisp autumn day, Mark and Catherine were married in a small ceremony in their backyard, the same place where it had all begun at a birthday party. Lily served as flower girl and best daughter, proudly walking down the makeshift aisle scattering rose petals. During the reception, Catherine knelt down to Lily's level, just as she had done at the birthday party a year before. "Lily," she said, holding out a small velvet box. "I have something for you." Inside was a delicate silver necklace with 3 interlocking circles. "One for you, one for your dad, and one for me," Catherine explained. "We're connected now, forever." "Like a real family," Lily said, touching the circles with reverent fingers. "We've always been real," Catherine said, helping her put on the necklace. "From the moment you hugged me at your birthday party, I knew I'd found my home." Later that night, after Lily had fallen asleep clutching her new necklace, Mark and Catherine stood in the doorway of her bedroom, watching her peaceful slumber. "Thank you," Catherine whispered. "For what?" "For inviting me to a birthday party. For giving me a second chance at the life I thought I'd lost." Mark pulled her close. "Thank you for asking a little girl if you could be her mom. For being brave enough to love us both. Sometimes, the most beautiful journeys begin with the simplest questions." For Mark, Catherine, and Lily, for words at a birthday party had opened the door to healing, to family, and to a love none of them had dared to imagine. If you've been touched by this story of unexpected love and second chances, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming tales that remind us all that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about who shows up at your birthday party and stays long after the candles are blown out.